Okay, good morning. My name is Chris Shucker with the Office of Charter Schools, and thank you for joining us for our monthly webinar. And I'm going to allow some other folks in the room to introduce themselves before we move on.
Good morning. This is Dave Machado, Director of the Office of Charter School. Really appreciate you joining our thank you.
Good morning. This is Deanna Townsend-Smith with the Office of Charter Schools. We are excited to have you guys with us again today. We hope that as we move forward, you continue to find much benefit from participating in these monthly webinars.
We're going to move on to MTSS, and I think we have Dr. Amy Jablonski. Yep, I see that she's here. So, Amy, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to you, and I do have your slides pulled up. So
Great,
I'll go ahead
thank you so much.
Get those up for you, and you guys are ready to go.
Great. Well, I appreciate that so much, and appreciate the time to talk about a multi-tiered system of support and upcoming opportunities for more charter schools to join within this particular work. So I just want to talk about during this particular webinar that I appreciate it being recorded, is that we want to invite charter schools into an additional cohort that we're going to be offering. Right now we are running 4 cohorts of implementers across the state, and we have about 50 charter schools already involved in somewhere between cohorts 1 through 4. And we're going to be opening up a 5th cohort just specifically for charter schools. So I want to talk a little about that today, about why this work is so important and why, as a state agency and even across the nation, a multi-tiered system of support is used as a framework for total school improvement. I want to share some resources that we have in our training plans and open up for questions. So if you go ahead and just move to slide 2. So is Dave on the call?
Yes, I am.
Oh, hey, Dave. Good morning to you. And I was wondering if you could just share a little bit with our listeners as to, from your perspective and what you've experienced, why you believe that MTSS is a way of doing school that could help charter schools, and your interest in this work.
Sure. Thanks, Amy. I think that our charter schools serve different populations, and the mission and vision of our schools is so different, and this is such a great vehicle to be able to service our population. In my involvement with MTSS as a school leader and now as Direct Office of Charter School, I've noticed that this process includes your entire staff. It's not just your EC department or your intervention department. It is your total school. It's your guidance counselor. It's your PE teacher. It's everybody. It's using different strategies to make sure that every student is being served academically, behaviorally, and it probably is utilizing strategies that you're already using now. It helps you develop more in-depth strategies, better strategies. That's kind of a reason why I think our school got involved, and why we are really encouraging our charter schools across the state to get involved. And Amy and her department is just fantastic as far as providing support. So if you're not in a cohort, I really encourage you to get in this next one that they're offering.
Great, and just to expand on that, what we've been able to see with our charter schools who are involved is just what you discussed, is that it's a way to, actually one of our mottos, our taglines, is that we want our teachers to do less and more effectively. And the reason for that is that we find that we have such great skill sets within our schools, but we don't have a vehicle for really collaborating within those or amplifying those resources or skill sets around. And so within the MTSS framework, our division sees that we could be able to work together to find out how it is that schools support all students, some students, and those who need our most intensive supports, and help you align that work. One of the things that, as Dave pointed at, is that we, when we work with charter schools, we just ask questions. Some people get frustrated with that because we don't have the answers, because every school and context is different. but we enjoy asking the questions of, so is what you're doing, whatever that is, working for the majority of your kids? And help you answer those questions. So we definitely want to expand our resources to be able to include more charter schools in this next cohort. So Craig, if you click on the next slide for us, and I just want to point out that we are working with, obviously, the Office of Charter Schools, our division is. The K-3 Read to Achieve group, we're very involved in working with them, as we know that a lot of charter schools are using those resources that are there. And then also our Exceptional Children's Division, we are specifically working with as well to have strong collaboration. And to point that out, if you go on to the next slide, and Craig, if you would, if you could click on, and so we'll go to this, I want to point folks, and obviously they'll have this presentation to click on these hyperlinks in there. On our MTSS Wiki, which you do not have to join, it's just open for all, is that we do send out messages within the weekly messages that go out to Office of Charter Schools, and then we also link them here in case anybody misses those. And this particular page really is just everything that we have for supports for charter schools. So you don't have to hunt and peck around to find. We have a link and we just put everything right here for your ease. Obviously, you can move around the wiki as much as you want to have it, but we wanted to make sure that we consolidated the efforts for searching for information. So this is here for your resources to get an idea of what we've been talking about within a multi-tiered system of support. And we do have 8 regional consultants out in the field, and all their contact information is here on this wiki space, and they're out there to support your particular work. We have a live binder. We have lots of information here, but nothing for you to get too overwhelmed with because we guide you through implementation in a very strategic way. I do want to point out on this page, if you stay here for a second, Craig, is that we have the recorded session of the EC regional meetings that is right here, so that way you have that recorded session. And then we also do lots of stuff on our Twitter chat. So we're inviting you to join our Twitter chats. There's directions for how to participate in a Twitter chat, even how to, if you don't have a Twitter account, how to have that. But we have these questions that we'll ask during the Twitter chat, just specifically about the work that we have going on and just questions and collaboration across the state. So we invite you to do that. You don't have to sign up. You just show up, and we'll be on there as well. It's 1 hour on April 24th at noon. And then if you can't attend, on this page, what you'll also have is that we have a Storify link that has the Twitter chat experience there. So that way, if you didn't get a chance, you'll be able to do that. You can also on this page, and you can go ahead and add here. Thank you. You can go back to the. You'll have a link here that you can also join our listserv. Our listserv, we send out lots of communication through our listserv, and also we want to make sure we're as visible as possible, and you can contact us at any point in time. So I wanted to make sure I pointed out those particular resources to you. That way you can kind of get a feel for what folks are saying. And then also, though it's not highlighted within here, is that Lincoln Charter School will be presenting at the Charter School Advisory Board meeting in April, coming up to share their implementation story. They're within a cohort, and we've invited them to present with us so that way to update the Charter School Advisory Board on implementation efforts on a multi-tiered system of support. Dave, is there anything you want to add about resources? Okay. So if we go to the next slide, if we take a look at slide 5, and this again is just a brief introduction to the invitation to cohort 5. But if we take a look here, I want to show you where it is that we are within our plan with collaboration. Is that throughout March and May right now, our job is just to get some information to folks about what is a multi-tiered system of support. And we were, again, this is an open invitation to join our next cohort to talk about the Twitter chat, and then also share some stories from the field, which are there on the wiki space, and we'll be highlighting even more. In June, we'll be at the Ready to Open sessions, and I believe I worked with last year, presented there too. And what is nice about those sessions and the opportunity to work with charter schools who are in the Ready to Open stage is that when you experience a multi-tiered system of support, it's a great foundational framework to build your school on and expand your school. Because within a multi-tiered system of support, we talk about ideas like collaborative leadership strategies and shared leadership approaches. How we use things like implementation data to pair with our student outcome data to know if what you've implemented is actually working for the students and populations that you serve. We spend time talking about building your teaming structure to make sure we don't have so many teams working and actually counteracting each other and however it is that you formulate your team structures within your schools. I want to be clear that a multi-tiered system of support is not just for elementary school. It's a pre-K-12 framework to be able to answer the question of, does your school building make sense? And that's for the schools to answer themselves, and that's from the student perspective to go through your school and how they acquire their skills and their and they're moving about the building and their relationships. So that Ready to Open sessions, we'll be hitting on that. And then through July and August, what we'll do is that we'll send out some partnership agreements for those folks who are interested in coming into a cohort. Those partnership agreements is just a clear, what we want to provide to you is what you're going to get from the Department of Public Instruction. And just to be clear, what we provide to you is we provide just in time online, really I guess it'd be like a hybrid approach to professional development where we provide you content through modules that you work with your school team in your school, and then we invite you to sessions to help build and foster those implementation plans. Obviously working with the regional consultants and other folks that are in the field, so that way you're not in this work alone. We're all really trying to solve the same problems, actually, when we pull the lens back and take a look at it. And then we'd ask for folks to submit that partnership agreement saying, yeah, you want to be in a cohort, and that really just helps us know who it is that we're working with within the school, our direct contact, and the work that we'll be doing there. And then what we'll do is in December is that we'd invite you to come to a Module 1 preview, which will be virtual, and then we'll open up the modules for you to begin Module 1 in January. And if you scroll down a little bit, Craig, you can see the bottom of that there where it says Module 1 online begins. So there are actually 3 modules within MTSS that take more than 1 year to go through, and that's very intentional. We want to give you bite-sized pieces versus, I don't know, sometimes we call it give you something like feeling like you're drinking from a fire hose. We want to give you bite-sized pieces of information that then we could go ahead and work on when it comes to our regional meetings to help you synthesize that information. So Module 1 really is about how it is that you build the foundation of your school with your own curriculum choices, your own instructional practices that you choose. Really teasing out how you've developed your master schedule to get the biggest bang for your buck with the time that we have with our students. And within there, we really do talk about time as one of the, it is the most free resource that we have that we underutilize. We want to help you to see where some gaps might be within there. Within Module 2, we talk about building a system of interventions and supports for students, and so that way they have quick access when they are struggling, or maybe they need to be pushed ahead as well, which really brings together the whole school. And then Module 3 specifically talks about a component for EC eligibility in the area specifically for specific learning disabilities, and to assist you with a policy change that takes effect July 1, 2020. And so this is kind of, we call it a package deal to get you ready for that, as well as really hone in on those big questions we want to ask about building a school and the foundations of it.
And Amy,
so,
actually, Dave had some thoughts to share on the last slide, but I accidentally realized we were still on mute, so that's why there was that awkward silence, and I do apologize for that.
That's okay.
So he wanted to share a few thoughts that he actually did share, but no one else got to hear it. So.
Oh, well, we'd love to hear him. Thanks for that clarification.
It's really not that great word. It's worth repeating, but as far as our school leaders that are on our webinar right now, I just want to talk a little bit about when Lincoln Charter School decided to get into this cohort. When MTSS first came out and I first started learning about it, I thought, oh my gosh, here's another state-mandated top-down to the school mandate that we're going to do and probably do for a year or two, and then you can move on to something else. But as we got involved in a cohort, got involved in the training, again, at Amy's office providing great service, one thing that was very obvious is each school has its flexibility, which charter schools, that's our middle name. We love flexibility. You have the flexibility to build this program based on your curriculum, your students, your mission, your strategy. I think it's really important that it's viewed as you're designing it, you're building it, and it's not being mandated from Raleigh or Washington. And I think that's a great asset and a great program about this program itself. So I just wanted to add that, Amy.
Thanks for pointing that out, and I appreciate that lens that you have. Our job from our division is to help folks do school the best way that they are developing it by just asking questions. We know that school improvement efforts, they're never going to end, right? They're just not going to stop because we're always going to have problems to solve because you want to expand or your population is changing or budget issues or leadership changes. And so MTSS just keeps that framework together to make sure that we're asking the right questions. And so we really, if you go to the next slide, just open it up for questions that you might have that we'd be happy to answer for you. And then definitely want to invite you to obviously be part of Cohort 5. It's our best way to get you connected with other charter schools who are doing this work. As well as really a prep for that EC policy change July 1, 2020.
Yes, if you have any questions, feel free to ask now. You can actually unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can also submit it through the chat.
Well, I do want to point out that if you do have questions after this or would like some further information about what would a cohort really look like, what would it feel like to be part of one, please go on the Wiki space, and again, even if you just Google NCDPI MTSS Wiki, they're there, and then also the other charters who are involved are on there as well, so that way you'll be able to see the contacts. And if that feels overwhelming, just shoot an email to either your regional person or myself, and we will be happy to get you connected with other charter schools to hear their story, or just chat with us. We'll be happy to have a conversation with you about that. And then also definitely looking forward to hearing Lincoln Charter talk about their experience at the Charter School Advisory Board meeting coming up. I believe it's April 10th, and I think that's what it is. And so at 3 o'clock, so that will be great. And we look forward to you for being there. So if you scroll down just a little bit, Craig, I want to show you where that contact is for the coordinators. On the left-hand side, there should be on the navigation window, coordinator contacts. So it could be down a little bit more. There we go, under coordinators, yep. Within here you have our contact, then if you scroll down, you have in each cohort a district or a charter school and the coordinator name and their contact information. So for example, there's, any ones that you see here that are charter schools, we don't have it broken up. It's more about, like here in Cohort 1, we can see Voyager Charter, and Melinda Chambers is our coordinator there, so you can go ahead and there's their contact information to ask questions. And so you can go on that link and see that, and so that way you can contact directly, or we can be that conduit to you as well. Our job is to connect you and support. But I really look forward to more of you joining within Cohort 5, and that way we can share our stories and work on all this together. It's a great community to work with, and I appreciate the collaboration within the Office of Charter Schools and others across the agency to make sure that we're supporting your work and helping you build your schools for the uniqueness that they are.
Okay, well, thank you, Amy. We definitely appreciate that. It was valuable information, and I will, like I said at the beginning of the webinar, this is being recorded, so this will be sent out in our weekly newsletter, and a portion of this will also be listed on the Wiki site, I believe. I'm going to be working with MTSS to get that posted there. I will also include their presentations in the weekly newsletter. That way you can have all the active links. You can get to the Wiki space and to the Listserv to sign up there. So that way you'll have access to all the information you'll need. So do we have any questions? If not, we'll go ahead and wrap up this month's webinar. Okay, hearing no questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up the webinar. Just thank you again for taking the time to join us, and look out for information in our weekly newsletter for the next webinar, which will be at the sometime at the end of April. We'll send out those dates in about the next week or so, and send out all the login information for the webinar. So just be on the lookout for that. And of course, just to reiterate, be on the lookout for all the information from this week's webinar and this week's newsletter. So that's all we have for you today. So thank you again for joining us, and have a wonderful week.